UK news stories. It would help if I could spell. Okay, here we go. It's like a lottery. Who knows what will come up? So, Copilot, show me the top UK news stories over the last 7 days. Here we go. So, here are the biggest UK news stories from the past week. So, late November to early December. So, the UK budget's in there again. We already know about that. Oh, now this is interesting. The head of the Office for Budget Responsibility resigned after a leak of the report threw the budget into chaos. From a health and well-being point of view, I'm sure it wasn't great for the head of the Office of Budget Responsibility's health and well-being, but for our purposes, I'm not going to look further into that. Gary Lineker versus Tommy Robinson clash. The BBC presenter publicly confronted Robinson after a video surfaced of him walking with Lineker's daughter-in-law, igniting a heated debate online. Okay. Okay. From a health and well-being point of view, not something that I would explore. Yorkshire minibus crash tragedy. Oh, that's a shame. A teenage girl was killed and several others injured when a minibus full of teenagers collided with a car in rural Yorkshire. Oh, that's a huge shame. Thoughts and positive energy going out to all the families involved. Tottenham drive-by shooting, another shooting. We had a shooting last week. A teenage girl died after pleading "call my mum" at the scene of a shooting in North London, raising concerns about gang violence. I will just reiterate my past comments when it comes to things that should be in schools in order for children not to reach this kind of behaviour, not to get to this kind of state where they're shooting people. I will look into that because I'll find out if that links to things that we've discussed before about the shootings. So it's one to bear in mind. Andrew Windsor stripped of titles. Well, we already knew this. I mean, I don't know why that's coming back up. Maybe it's been brought up again this week. We know that he's been stripped of his titles. The Duke of York was officially declared a commoner after losing his remaining royal titles, a major shift in the monarchy's handling of scandal. That's right. That's done right in front of the Epstein inquiry now. Hillsborough police misconduct findings. A watchdog report concluded that at least 12 officers would have faced gross misconduct charges for their role in the 1989 disaster if still serving. So that's hinting at the fact that 12 officers must have either resigned or possibly have come to retirement, to be brought up now for a watchdog report to have looked into it. It may well be worth having a look at, mainly from the fact that the Hillsborough disaster had a massive impact on people that were watching the game at the time. Yeah, huge. I think that the wave of emotional upset that came out from that disaster in 1989, wow. It would be interesting to see if there's been any studies on the emotional health and well-being of the people that watched it, but also the people that were there that weren't actually part of the disaster that happened. I'll make a note and have a look. We'll see. Okay. UK and US pharmaceutical trade deal. Britain agreed to a zero tariff deal on pharmaceuticals with the US, but critics warned it could mean higher drug prices domestically. Well, I know that the United States do charge a lot, I think, for their drug regimen. Mm, okay. Jeremy Corbyn's party splits. Infighting led to a rejection of Corbyn as leader, with members opting for a committee system instead, highlighting fractures in the left. So that would be Jeremy Corbyn's new party. It was known as Your Party, and they did get quite a lot of support. And I don't know if they got quite a lot of support off the back of a lot of people still liking Jeremy Corbyn, or if they got a lot of support off the back of people being absolutely sick to the back teeth of the government that we have. However, I would argue that even if Your Party came up as a third standing against Conservatives and Labour, we would still have government strings pulled from above. I would argue that it doesn't really matter what party, it doesn't matter whether you're red, blue, green, yellow. You've still got to be confined by the strings that pull the government puppet along. I will look into that though, because I want to see whether people will drop out of the party if Corbyn's not going to be the leader. Interesting. There's that interesting word again. Context and analysis. This week's UK headlines have been dominated by political upheaval and public safety crisis. The budget 2025 is the most controversial story, with Reeves accused of breaking promises not to raise taxes. The resignation of the fiscal watchdog's chair added fuel to the fire, raising questions about transparency and trust in the government. Again! Meanwhile, tragic events in Yorkshire and Tottenham underscore ongoing concerns about youth safety and violent crime. The monarchy also faced renewed scrutiny over Andrew Windsor's final fall from grace, while the Hillsborough report reopened wounds from one of Britain's darkest sporting tragedies. On the international front, the UK-US pharmaceutical deal reflects Britain's post-Brexit trade strategy, but it has already sparked fears of increased costs for patients. And within domestic policies, Corbyn's sidelining shows the continuing fragmentation of the left. So that's according to Copilot. A couple of things that I will look into. Nothing major this week from a health and wellbeing kind of point of view. We will, however, go and have a word with our friend Claude. Let's try that again. There's Claude. Okay. Golden hour thinking, according to Claude. I do love the way Claude comes through. I'm going to ask Claude exactly the same question as we asked Copilot. But don't forget, Copilot is run and has been formulated by Microsoft. So everything that you're shown on Copilot is effectively agenda-based at some level, whereas Claude, not so. So we asked Claude exactly the same question. Let's see what Claude returns us. I'll search for the latest UK news stories. So let me search for more specific recent news stories for the past week. And I do love that you can have a look at everything he's looking at. Ooh. So, UK Guardian, Telegraph news last week. Oh, okay. Based on my search, here are the top UK news stories from the past 7 days. So, we're looking from the 26th of November to the 3rd of December, 3rd of December being today. Syria is top of Claude's list. Fall of Assad regime. Prime Minister Keir Starmer released a written statement welcoming the fall of the Assad regime after rebel forces captured Damascus in early December. The UK joined G7 leaders in standing with the Syrian people after decades of atrocities committed by the Assad regime. Okay. From a health and well-being point of view, if you read that, you would feel quite uplifted at the fact that Syria is out of trouble now. But if you actually delve into that, like I have, that is the UK government trying to put a plaster over an arterial bleed when it comes to what we have contributed to in Syria and what is continuing in Syria at the moment. Interesting that Cole put it first. Economic update. The UK economy was weaker than initially estimated between July and September, according to revised official figures. So it's weaker than they estimated. Surprise. Parliamentary activities. The House of Commons continued examining key legislation, including energy security measures and cyber resilience bills. I wonder if that's got anything to do with this new digital ID. Southern Water became the first water company to appear before MPs to discuss water outages affecting schools and hospitals in southern England. House of Commons continued examining key legislation. Energy security measures, big thing from a health and well-being point of view, well worth looking into. Political developments. The King signified his intention of conferring life peerages on several individuals, including Sue Gray, former Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, marking significant political appointments in late December. I'll have to look into Sue Gray. We'll do a bit of a dive on Sue Gray and see if the King is supporting someone who deserves to be supported. Yeah, life peerage. Parliamentary recess. The House of Commons adjourned on Thursday, the 19th, and will sit on Monday, the 6th of January. So the House of Commons have got a lovely, jolly time off over the Christmas period. They'll be, 19th of December until the 6th of January. So these stories dominated UK news during the final week of November and early December, with particular focus on international developments in Syria, domestic economic concerns, and ongoing parliamentary business before the Christmas recess. So from Claude's point of view, there's a couple of things that I'll look into. From co-pilot's point of view, co-pilot's point of view, there's some things that I will definitely be looking into. So that's the roundup of the news for this week, ending today on the 3rd.